Good evening and welcome to the news. Over the next half hour, the day's biggest headlines. I'm Ankita Mukherjee. Let's get started with our top stories. Day 19 of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Kyiv braces as Russia's assault intensifies. A Kyiv apartment block is hit in a deadly strike. A pregnant woman and her baby die in shelling on a hospital in Mariupol. Russia also bombs the Antonov aircraft plant in Kyiv. As Russia strikes near the Polish border, Ukraine's President Zelensky warns NATO again. Russia denies asking China for military aid as the fourth round of talks take place between Russia and Ukraine. Zelensky's appeal: hold direct president-to-president talks to end this. The Ukraine effect: the government is likely to defer the mega LIC IPO because of market volatility. Sensex and Nifty gain, however, as crude rates ease, as hopes grow over Russia and Ukraine talks. But retail inflation rises to 6.07% in February. It's now above the RBI's target band. BJP sources confirm that governments will be formed in 4 states where it has won only after Holi. Punjab's Chief Minister-elect Bhagwant Mann resigns as Lok Sabha MP a day before his swearing-in ceremony. We saw sycophancy at the Congress post-mortem meet after the poll debacle. The Congress's wore out in the open as a senior leader, Sunil Jakhar, speaks exclusively to NDTV. He says, I hope the Congress's problem would be discussed threadbare, but instead there was sycophants. The party confirms the top leadership did offer to resign, as NDTV had reported. The Tata Group announces N. Chandrasekaran will be the chairman of Air India, with his appointment confirmed by the board. This is in addition to his role as chairman of Tata Sons. Former National Stock Exchange chief Chitra Ramakrishna, accused of being involved in lapses in India's largest stock market, is sent to jail for 14 days. The court allows her to have her prayer books in jail but says no to home food. Vaccines for 12 to 14-year-olds will begin from Wednesday. A precaution dose now for all above 16, not just those with comorbidities. In more good news, India sees its lowest daily COVID cases since the start of the pandemic. Ukraine, our top focus tonight, where fighting is raging in Kyiv's suburbs on day 19 of Russia's invasion. In the port city of Mariupol, Russian shelling of a hospital killed a pregnant mother and her child. Ukraine's President Zelensky has now appealed for a direct face-to-face meeting with the Russian president ahead of the latest round of peace talks between negotiators. Meanwhile, Russia has denied asking China for military and economic aid for its war in Ukraine.
At Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, residents being evacuated after Russian shelling reported at a residential building, according to the State Emergency Service of Ukraine. This, along with the attack on the Antonov aircraft factory at Kyiv that produces many of the world's largest cargo planes. The extent of damage yet to be known. The civilian death toll in Ukraine now at nearly 600 in last 19 days, according to United Nations human rights body. Even as bombings continue across the country, including Lviv near the western border and southern Black Sea port city of Mariupol, Britain's defense ministry claims Russia has effectively isolated Ukraine from international maritime trade, establishing a naval blockade on the Black Sea coast. Among the casualties, victims like this pregnant mother and her child. Both could not be saved.
Наша мета, щоб у цій боротьбі, у цій переговорній, складній роботі Україна отримала необхідний результат. Необхідний для нас, для миру, для безпеки. Щоб ми мали гарантії нормальні і дієві. Не як за Будапештом і не як у нашому небі, а такі, щоб українці могли сказати, ось це працює, ось це гарантія. І зараз я повторюю знову, якщо ви не закриєте наше небо, то це лише питання часу, коли російські ракети впадуть вже на вашу територію, на територію НАТО, на домівки громадян країн НАТО.
Утром 13 марта высокоточным оружием большой дальности нанесен удар по учебным центрам Вооруженных сил Украины в населенном пункте Старичи и на военном полигоне Яворовский. На данных объектах киевским режимом были развернуты пункт подготовки и боевого слаживания иностранных наемников перед отправкой в районы боевых действий против российских военнослужащих, а также база хранения поступающего от зарубежных стран вооружения и военной техники. В результате удара уничтожены до 180 иностранных наемников и крупная партия иностранного вооружения.
The latest round of Russia-Ukraine peace talks on Monday coming at a critical point amid international media reports of US accusing Russia of seeking military equipment aid from China for attack on Ukraine. But China has rubbished the claims. According to Reuters, Chinese embassy in Washington, D.C. has said it is not aware of any such request by Russia. China's foreign ministry has accused the United States of disinformation on Beijing's role. Sneha Koshi for NDTV.
But here's a closer look at the military front lines in this conflict, how it's changed over these 19 days, and if the Russian goal was to take over Ukraine, just how that has actually progressed on the ground. Vishnu Shaw explains.
Let's take a look at the military front lines in this conflict. How has it changed? And if the Russian goal has been to take over Ukraine, just how has that actually progressed on the ground? Because the reports clearly indicate that the Russian army has received a huge setback over and over again, yet they are much larger than Ukrainian armed forces. So let's bring up this map and take a look firstly at what took place when this all started late last month. Let's have that up full screen, please, so that we can actually show you the areas where the Russian invasion started taking place. Let's move to the next screen and point out the areas where on the 24th of February, as you can see, the areas where Russia started advancing. Kharkiv, then the Luhansk and Donetsk area, and other areas as well. Now let's move to this image. This is actually of the 4th of March. Over here on this image, you can actually see how that front line has shifted. More territory has been taken over by the Russians, not all of it, but that's broadly the military front line. Now let's take a look more specifically on the next page to what exactly the situation is on the 7th of March, when you'd be actually able to see some of the changes which have taken place. So let's go full screen on the 7th of March, and the areas that we've actually circled are areas where there have been changes on the 7th of March on the ground position line between what you saw earlier on the 4th of March. Now let's move to the next page. The next page gives you an idea of the situation on the 12th of March. And again, let's have that up full screen so that you can see over here further changes which have taken place. These changes appear to be small. That's because beyond the Kyiv, Kharkiv belt and Mariupol in the south, the actual progress in terms of kilometers has been fairly limited. As you can see over there, that is what the actual ground position is at this stage. So Kyiv hasn't been taken over, Kharkiv hasn't been taken over. Further south, there are areas where the Russians appear to be having much more of a say.
Well, the Sensex and Nifty surged for the 5th straight session today as crude oil prices fell on hopes of progress in the Russia-Ukraine peace talks. The latest rounds have just begun. European markets surged over 1% as Brent crude prices eased to about $107 a barrel. But in what appears to be a direct fallout of the market volatility following the Russia-Ukraine war, the initial public offering or IPO of India's biggest insurer, the Life Insurance Corporation of India, is unlikely in this financial year 2021-22. At 5% stake dilution, the LIC IPO would be the biggest ever in the history of the Indian stock market. And once listed, its market valuation would be comparable to top companies like RIL and TCS. Sources are indicating that LIC's public listing could now happen in early April. In worrying news for the economy, retail inflation is currently at an 8-month high, rising to about 6.07% in February versus 6.01% in January. Retail inflation is currently above the RBI's upper limit for the second straight month, and food and beverages inflation at 5.93 is the highest it's been in 15 months. The Tata Group today announced N. Chandrasekaran would be the chairman of Air India, with his appointment being confirmed by the board. This is in addition to him being chairman of Tata Sons. Chandrasekaran joined the Tata Sons board in October 2016. He was appointed as Tata Sons chairman in January 2017. The Tata Group had previously announced Turkey's İlker IC as the chief executive of Air India, but that appointment was met with a lot of opposition in India, after which he declined to take the post. Former National Stock Exchange chief Chitra Ramakrishna, accused of being involved in grave lapses in India's largest stock market, including sharing confidential information with someone she described as an Himalayan yogi, was sent to jail today for 14 days. The court rejected her request for home food and other amenities, but allowed her to carry a copy of a prayer book, the Hanuman Chalisa and the Bhagavad Gita. The judge observed every prisoner is the same. She can't be a VIP prisoner because of what she has been. Rules can't be changed. It's now clear that Sonia Gandhi, in her speech to senior Congress leaders yesterday, offered to resign along with her children. While Rahul Gandhi does not hold an official post, he does function as a top leader of the party. Mrs. Gandhi presented the offer as an ultimate sacrifice in the interest of the party. Senior Congress leader Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, who attended the Congress Working Committee meeting, confirmed that this comment was made, as did other sources in the Congress who spoke to NDTV after the meeting of its top decision-making body. The party also said it would hold a brainstorming session to focus on organizational elections after the budget session of Parliament, and that the party's internal elections would be held on the 20th of August. On Saturday, the day before the Congress meet, NDTV had exclusively reported the Gandhis would offer to give up leadership roles. This triggered a strong denial from the party. However, that report has been proven correct. Well, senior Congress leader Sunil Jakhar today hitting out at sycophants in the Congress's top meeting yesterday in an exclusive interview to NDTV's Srinivasan Jain. That's coming up at 8:30 p.m. The BJP will form governments in the 4 states that it's won in the recently concluded elections after Holi, sources have said today. Chief ministers for UP, Uttarakhand, Goa and Manipur will reportedly be chosen after Holi. And Akhilesh gets us more details.
The latest update is that the BJP has appointed observers for the 4 states where the party has won by a thumping majority, and Home Minister Amit Shah and Raghubar Das, they are being appointed as the observer for Uttar Pradesh, and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and Meenakshi Lekhi, they are for Uttarakhand, Nirmala Sitharaman, Kiren Rijiju for Manipur, and Narendra Singh Tomar and L. Murugan for Goa. So these 8 top leaders have been appointed observers. They will of course supervise the process to elect the new chief ministers in all the 4 states. The BJP is certain about Uttar Pradesh that Mr. Yogi Adityanath is going to be the next chief minister in Uttar Pradesh, but as far as Goa, Manipur and Uttarakhand are concerned, BJP is still calculating whom should be projected as the chief minister, because in the sense that in Uttarakhand party has suffered loss because the chief minister Pushkar Singh Dhami lost his own election. And in Goa and Manipur, though N. Biren Singh and Pramod Sawant, they were projected as the leader in the election, but now there are other leaders also who are in the race to become chief minister. The party sources are telling us that the whole process to complete and elect the new chief ministers will take some time, and the entire process will begin only after Holi. There are 2 reasons for that. First, that because it's the inauspicious period before Holi is going on, which is called Holashtak, and the second reason which is being given by the party sources is that the party leadership wants to coordinate the swearing-in ceremony so that all the top leaders from Delhi can attend each swearing-in ceremony. So it may take some more days before the final picture about the 4 chief minister is clear.
The Employees Provident Fund Organisation has reduced interest rates to the lowest they've been in more than 40 years. It's come as a huge disappointment for over 5 crore salaried class subscribers.
I will give you the brief about...
For those who've just started saving for their future, a Provident Fund saving is simply not going to be enough. That's what 23-year-old Pallavi Sule thinks. On Saturday, the Employees Provident Fund Organisation cut interest rates from 8.5% to 8.1%. This is the lowest interest rate in 43 years.
My PF was main source for my retirement, maybe for if we consider that. But apart from that, I need to go for more investments, need to buy more policies for myself, for my future.
The Provident Fund is usually a savings plan to take care of retirement for salaried employees. But falling interest rates and rising costs are now making young people wonder if that's enough. Investment planners say the salaried class will be under enormous pressure to save enough to financially secure their retirement years.
Employees who contribute voluntarily as a BPF, they may think about it whether they want to contribute in some other market-linked schemes like mutual funds.
In Parliament, the opposition raised the issue. Among those who attacked the government was Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, who said the Black Initiative must be thwarted by united protests. The government says the interest rate was finalized after keeping in mind the prevailing international conditions and the market situation.
प्रोविडेंस शब्द का अगर अर्थ जानते हैं ना हमारे लोग सत्ता वाले तो शायद ये नहीं करते तो इनको असल में लग गया है कि चुनाव जीते जा सकते हैं बिना जन सरोकार के मुद्दों पर बात किए बिना सार्थक हस्तक्षेप और पहल किए हुए
कम से कम 6 करोड़ जो भी एम्प्लॉइज हैं उनको नुकसान पहुंचाना तो मोदी जी तो हर एक के वेलफेयर के बारे में सोचते हैं ऐसा बीजेपी के लोग कहते हैं लेकिन उनकी कार्रवाई में या करतूत में ये दिखता है कि गरीबों को कुछ देना नहीं सिर्फ उनसे लेना.
Taking note of the anguish of the salaried class, CPIM Rajya Sabha MP Binoy Viswam served a notice to suspend proceedings to discuss the issue.
It's a big backlash on the lives of the workers of this country. They are suffering a lot. They face it very difficult to meet the 2 ends meet nowadays. Then the government has come with a new law on them.
An NDTV Bureau Report.
There's growing politics over a film that deals with a painful episode in India's recent history, the exodus of Kashmiri Pandits from the valley. Today, as 5 BJP-ruled states made the film tax-free, there was also an all-out war of words between the BJP and the Congress.
BJP-ruled states Karnataka, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Haryana and Tripura have announced tax-free status for Vivek Agnihotri's The Kashmir Files on the exodus of Kashmiri Pandits in the 1990s. In Karnataka, the Speaker Vishweshwar Kageri has invited all MLAs for a movie screening at Mantri Mall in Bengaluru on Tuesday. In Madhya Pradesh, Home Minister Mishra has said all policemen will be granted leave to watch the movie.
I really congratulate our Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Amit Shah ji for abrogating 370, and that's the right step to bring justice to the people who are suffered in Kashmir. And now we see a lot of development in Kashmir, and I hope that all the Pandits will get back their land and property and settle down there.
You also know tax-free in Karnataka?
Yeah, I have made tax-free.
The opposition is questioning the reason behind these special concessions.
पॉलिटिक्स का बस एक ही अंत है विनाश मौत तो मौत के डर से मैं भी कायर बन जाऊं.
The film has not just brought attention back to a particularly troubled period in Kashmir's history, it's also sparked a face-off between the BJP and the Congress.
The Kashmiri Pandit community was made to leave their homes and hearth in the most painful conditions, and history is also supportive of the fact that all this was a cumulative outcome of a series of Congress blunders, beginning from what is now recorded as the infamous Nehruvian blunders.
It was the VP Singh government and the BJP supported government only was the reason for whatever happened then in Kashmir. And if that is being again put up in a different way against a community or against somebody, it is not right, and it is only for polarization, which is the foundation of the BJP's political activity.
It's not just about the movie Kashmir Files receiving especially rave reviews. It's also about where probably a narrative is being set by the political parties to indulge in mudslinging and also to promote hatred for a particular community, as observed by political analysts. In Bengaluru, with camera person Kumar Srija for NDTV.
India will start vaccinating children aged 12 to 14 from the 16th of March as it expands its COVID-19 vaccination coverage. The condition of comorbidity for people aged 60 and above to get a precautionary dose is also being removed. Everyone in this age category can now get booster shots. There was more good news in the battle against COVID. India saw its lowest daily COVID cases since almost the start of the pandemic, that is May 2020. But China, from where the coronavirus originated, is battling a fresh and worrying upsurge in cases. The country's response has been to lock down a major tech hub as well as put strict restrictions in other affected areas.
China has fully shut its tech hub Shenzhen, a city in the country's southern part, home to a major factory that makes iPhones, as authorities battled an Omicron flare-up in factories and neighborhood linked to nearby Hong Kong, where fresh COVID cases are being reported in record numbers. Shenzhen is one of the 10 areas nationwide where stay-at-home orders have been issued. Tighter measures could be on their way as concerns mount over the resilience of China's zero-COVID approach in the face of the highly transmissible Omicron variant. Chinese authorities reported 1,337 locally transmitted cases of COVID-19 across dozens of mainland cities on Monday. In the central part of capital Beijing, several sections in both business and residential areas have been put under lockdown in recent days due to new cases.
有影响呀，我们有车贷有房贷，然后在家办公肯定就没有上班的时候工资高。 就是赚钱这方面吧，我觉得是我们最大的影响。
那我觉得还是这个动态清零的比较好一点，特别是一些老人和小孩现在也不确定，如果说像欧美那样的话，那对很多未成年人是不是未来会有很大的影响，现在也都不确定。
But it is the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region that is China's biggest worry. On Sunday, Hong Kong registered 13,335 new COVID-19 cases by nucleic acid tests and 19,095 additional positive cases through self-reported rapid antigen tests. This is Hong Kong's fifth wave of infections. But the region's chief executive has said the government isn't planning to toughen its current social distancing measures, which are already quite strict.
呢一刻我都只能講咧，冇諗緊再加辣嘅社交距離措施。因為而家行緊嘅社交距離措施可以講係2年幾以嚟最嚴格㗎啦嚇。
While the caseload is low in global terms, it is deeply alarming in China, where authorities have been unrelenting in squashing clusters since early 2020. Bureau Report, NDTV.